Alex here with a video on legal nuts and bolts. In this video I'm going to cover the common law. I figured this was a good follow-up to the last video, which covered the Constitution, because one of the things I mentioned in the last video is I seem to notice there's kind of three types of self-represented people that I interact with. The first type just doesn't do any research at all and has no idea what's going on, and so I try to point them in the right direction. The second type, they do a lot of Google searches, and all of their knowledge is based on like Wikipedia articles and other sites like that, which are useless in court. You have to have the authority, unless you get lucky and the judge just kind of fills in the blanks for you, which only the best judges with the most experience will do. Do not bank your custody case on this. It's foolish. The third type of person is the person that does tons of research, but it's all on like common law and like constitutional stuff. And there's so many YouTube channels out there that talk about this, especially like child support stuff. And these guys just lead you astray. It's just not, it's wrong. If you want to see what I'm talking about with the Constitution, check out my previous video. In this video, I'm going to cover a little bit of like, I can't get into the details of common law because you have to read a lot of case law and Supreme Court publications to get a good handle on it. And you have to like use it in court, or it just takes forever to fully understand what it is. But I will say this, the websites that are saying that the common law is some kind of super powerful legal system that people are opting out of by, I don't know, getting like a driver's license or a birth certificate or whatever, that's just a bunch of baloney. The common law is just the framework, the default legal framework that exists when the legislature hasn't codified an area of the law. The legislature is perfectly entitled to codify whatever laws they want unless it violates the Constitution and overrule the common law. That's totally within their prerogative, and it often makes things so much less confusing and so much easier to understand. So people should embrace the enactment of statutes and not just say, oh, well, I follow the common law, I don't have to follow those laws. It's just completely wrong-headed thinking. The other thing about, first I'm going to give you an example in a sec. There is this general principle I did want to share that I've noticed that the Supreme Court of Nevada talks about a little bit. It's probably something that applies across the board, at least in the English common law states. I don't know about Louisiana, which I believe is Napoleonic or something. I don't understand anything about that or what it is, so I have no idea how Louisiana's common law system works or if they even have one. But anyway, usually I've seen this this principle that the Supreme Court sort of applies. When they construe a statutory system, if it's what they call in derogation of the common law, either it's inconsistent with common law or it's not discussed by it, or maybe the common law says the exact opposite. I mean, please look this up. Don't just trust what I'm saying. If it's in derogation of the common law, then the Supreme Court of Nevada will read those statutes very carefully and apply them in the strictest sense. They won't bend them. They won't fill any blanks. If anything is left out, the Supreme Court of Nevada will simply refuse to accept whatever interpretation you're throwing at them. And if they're interpreting statutes or a statutory scheme that is not in derogation of the common law, then they will go ahead and look at how they can bend or get that to work with the common law in areas that the legislature didn't specifically discuss in those statutes, but there's sort of a room to kind of assume what they intended because it's consistent with the common law, and they're just kind of outlining some details and specifics. I have no really good examples to give anyone with specifics to my cases. I have cited case law before specific to costs when I appealed a couple of orders that denied me costs. I did cite some cases that talked about, I don't think I actually did now that I think of it. I think the cases that I'm thinking about are when you're trying to oppose costs, and that never happened to me. So just scratch that. I'm sorry that I can't give anyone any more specific details as to how the common law works, but I think I covered enough. I mean, it's a default state that exists, and the legislature is perfectly within its rights to go ahead and codify laws that overrule what would have happened if the common law was in place. So Oh, actually, there's one thing I just thought of. I've read a case in Nevada that said, I think it came down to disciplining your kids, like spanking. And the Supreme Court of Nevada said in this case, if I can track it down, I'll put it in the links below. Otherwise, I won't. I'm sorry, I'll have to find it. The Supreme Court said that Nevada doesn't specifically say what you can do when it comes to corporal punishment. So we fall back on the common law. And they cover something called the parental privilege. I don't know if it's a doctrine or a principle or whatever. And anyway, that's an example of them specifically saying there's no laws that cover whether you can spank your kids. Therefore, we fall back on common law, parental privilege, and that's what we're going to apply in this case. And anyway, that kind of goes into what I was talking about. I'll try to find that case and I'll paste it below so you can sort of see the interaction between common law and statutory law, or lack thereof. So you might have a lot of questions about this, but I'm not sure that I can give a lot of detailed specifics because I just haven't used this. I haven't looked at this a lot all the time in all of my filings. So hopefully it helps people, at least in the sense of rejecting that thinking that that you can just kind of choose between whether you follow statutes or common law. You can't just choose. With that, I'll end this video. See you guys next time.